Welcome back. The details. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi offered his sincere condolences to the victims of the shooting accident in a neighborhood in Muscat, praying to God to bless the deceased souls, wishing patience and solace to their families and a speedy recovery for the injured. This came on Saturday as the president held a phone call with Oman's Sultan Haytham bin Tariq, expressing Egypt's condemnation for this terrorist incident and full solidarity with the Sultanate of Oman in the face of terrorism and extremism. For his part, Sultan bin Tariq appreciated Egypt's positions in support of the Sultanate, stressing the depth and strength of the historical and brotherly bilateral relations and his country's keenness to continue consolidating the distinguished bilateral cooperation at all fronts. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from Kenyan counterpart William Ruto. The talks of the two African leaders tackled ways to boost bilateral ties in all domains and their keenness to continue in cooperation and to push them forward for wider horizons in the coming period, putting into the first interest of the two brotherly nations. Presidential spokesperson Councillor Ahmed Fahmy said the call tackled a number of issues of mutual concern, particularly on the African arenas, and they discussed the challenges facing the Black continent, saying that the efforts exerted to realize peace and prosperity, as well as the achievement of the sustainable development goals, are going to top the agenda of their talks. Minister of Interior General Mahmoud Tawfiq approved on Saturday the acceptance of a new batch of students who want to join the police academy and who are graduated from different schools and colleges. All the applications will be available on the website of the ministry. The students will go through a number of medical, cultural, physical and sports examinations to select the best calibers to join the academy, and they will shoulder the responsibility of maintaining Egypt's internal security. Minister of Defense Lieutenant General Abdelmajid Sakr sent a congratulatory cable to President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, on the occasion of the 23rd of July Revolution 72nd anniversary. In his cable, the Minister of Defense wished the nation more welfare and prosperity under the leadership of the President. Sakr asserted that the men of the Armed Forces are committed to protect the nation. Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Ahmed Khalifa also sent a similar cable to the President. Also on Saturday, Minister of Interior General Mahmoud Tawfiq sent a congratulatory cable on the very same occasion. In his cable, Tawfiq exerted by the men and the armed forces to protect their homeland and their sacrifices. On behalf of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli arrived on Saturday in Ghana's capital, Accra, to take part in the 6th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union. Egypt is now chairing the new Partnership for African Development Aid. Madbouli is expected to hold a string of bilateral meetings with a number of African top officials on the sidelines of the EU meeting. Madbouli will also tackle fundamental files related to of efforts aimed at boosting economic integration among countries of the African Union. On the sidelines of the 6th mid-year coordination meeting of the African Union in Ghana's capital, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, Egypt expats Badr Abdel Ati, held a number of meetings with several African counterparts and EU top officials. Here are more details. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian expatriates Badr Abdel Ati lauded distinguished relations between Egypt and Sierra Leone as the two countries mark the 63rd anniversary of establishing diplomatic ties and share identical views on several issues of common concern. He made his remarks during his meeting with the Sierra Leonean Foreign Minister Timothy Musekaba on the sidelines of the 6th coordination meeting of the African Union in Ghana's capital. Foreign Ministry official spokesperson Ambassador Ahmed Abu Zaid said the Foreign Minister said Egypt looks forward to fostering ties with Sierra Leone in various fields of common interest, notably health, tourism, mining, agriculture and food security. Also in Accra, the foreign minister met with Teresa Kikwamba Wagner, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Democratic Republic of Congo. During the meeting, Abdelati expressed his aspiration for achieving more bilateral coordination, stressing Egypt's will to support Congo in its efforts to combat terrorism. As for his talks with his Tanzanian counterpart, General Yusuf Makamba, Foreign Minister Abdelati hailed the leap witnessed in the last few years in Egyptian-Tanzanian relations, embodied in exchanging high-ranking visits and signing memoranda of understanding in various fields. Abdelati also highlighted Cairo's keenness to boost the presence of Egyptian companies in Tanzania by holding vital mega projects topping the list, Julius Nyerere Dam, which is considered as a role model of African strategic cooperation. For his part, Makamba vowed that his country will resume offering all facilities to Egyptian companies and investors and hailed the brotherly ties that bind the two nations. In his meeting with EU Commissioner Musa Faqih Mohammed, Foreign Minister Abdelati stressed Egypt's keenness to be involved in all serious efforts aiming to face all complicated African challenges, namely to restore peace and achieve sustainable development goals. Abdelati and Faqih discussed enhancing cooperation between Egypt and the African Commission and exchanged views regarding African files of common interest. They also discussed the situations in Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia and Libya, as both agreed on the necessity to unify all efforts to end all crises peacefully and meet the aspirations of the African peoples. In continuation of his string of meetings, Abdelati met with his Mauritanian counterpart Mohammed Salim Wald Marzouk. The two ministers followed up the path of the Egyptian-Mauritanian Joint Committee as they agreed to hold it before the end of the year. Moreover, Abdelati its appreciation to the wise leadership of Mauritania to the African Union and their distinguished management of several African files. Abdelati and Wal Marzouk also tackled ways of boosting bilateral cooperation, especially in the field of energy in light of the latest oil and gas discoveries in Mauritania and Egypt's experience in this vital sector. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement Saturday that Egypt welcomed an advisory opinion issued by the International Court of Justice on the legal consequences of Israeli policies and brutal practices in the occupied Palestinian territories, including Al-Quds. Issued in response to a 2022 UN General Assembly request, the ICJ's opinion deems the continued Israeli occupation as a violation of the people's right to self-determination and a breach of the inadmissibility of the acquisition of territory by force. The landmark opinion urged Israel to swiftly end the occupation, halt new settlement and remove existing settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, Al-Quds. A Foreign Ministry statement said Egypt further welcomes the ICJ's call in all states and international organizations, including the UN, to refuse recognition of the Israeli occupation's legal standing. Egypt reiterated its commitment to supporting Palestinian rights, including an independent state, on 1967 borders, with Al-Quds as its capital, advocating for a just and lasting peace based on the two-state solution. Earlier, the United Nations highest court said that Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories and settlements there are illegal and should be withdrawn as soon as possible in its strongest findings to date on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The opinion by judges at the International Court of Justice, known as the World Court, was not binding but carries weight under international law and for Israel. The court said Israeli obligations include paying restitution for harm and the evacuation of all illegal settlers from existing illegal settlements. In a swift reaction, Israeli Foreign Ministry rejected the opinion as fundamentally wrong and one-sided and repeated its stance that a political settlement in the region can only be reached by negotiations.